Hey everyone, welcome back to She Burps Podcast. I am your host, Brooke Wright.
Hi everyone, welcome back to She Burps Podcast. Today's guest is Heather Hutchison. Hi Heather.
Hi.
Welcome to my podcast. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So can you tell our listeners what inspired your book, Holding On and Letting Go?
Yeah, so my book was written, it actually just came out a couple months ago, and I wrote it during the pandemic. So basically, it kind of has two parallel themes, one being my life as a blind person in Canada and Latin America, and the other kind of theme that's interwoven into that story is my struggles with my mental health throughout my life, which ultimately culminated in me being hospitalized for psychiatric care during COVID-19, which is kind of where the inspiration for the book came from, because there was this one night that I was lying awake in the hospital. I couldn't sleep, and somebody was brought in by air ambulance in critical condition, and as soon as they arrived, they called a code blue on this person. And I started thinking about this person's family and their loved ones and thinking, like, my God, they must be having one of the scariest nights of their lives. And how can I feel so much empathy for their loved ones while knowing that the decision I want to make will devastate my own loved ones? And then I started thinking about the patient themselves and thinking, wow, that it's like such a crazy juxtaposition, because they're here fighting to live, and I'm here fighting to die, and I actually have a choice. So I decided in that moment that I needed to live and I needed to fight to find a way forward and to tell my story to hopefully help other people who are going through something similar and educate other people who have never been in that situation. So to try and, make something positive out of a really difficult situation.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. I love what you're doing. I really do. Because last year on my birthday, I tried to commit suicide. So I was in a psychiatric hospital as well. And the lady that I was roommates with, she had her own apartment. She was doing well. Everything was good. And she was just like, I just couldn't take it anymore. And she would rather be in the psychiatric hospital versus being at home, because she said she had nobody. She didn't have
Yeah.
a mother, she didn't have siblings, she had nobody. And when I told her I was leaving the next day, because I was on a 72-hour hold, no,
Yeah.
a 24-hour hold,
Yeah.
she cried like she didn't want me to leave, because we actually became really good friends. So that's why I understand where you're coming from, like empathy for the other person that's there.
Totally.
It's different, like going into their mind, and like, wow. Like I really loved the book that you read. And so what did you learn about yourself when you wrote the book?
I learned a lot, actually. It was really interesting to sit down and really write out my life from start to where I was at that point, because there were some things that I didn't even remember had happened until I was writing the book. And then when I saw it all kind of written out in this timeline, it was like I could see, okay, this led to this, that led to this, and then things started to make more sense to me, as well as to because I remember being in the psych ward, just being like, how did I get here? What led to this? So then writing that book kind of, I guess, clarified some things for me and helped me to move past it, because I could see then how one thing had led to another to another.
That's amazing. So can you tell our listeners, like, what does the title mean of your book?
Holding On by Letting Go is this, because to me, I remember getting into the psych ward and the door closing behind me and just being like, wow, this is the end of the road. And it was really like this surrender, and I felt like, okay, I'm giving up. But then as the days in the psych ward progressed, I kind of realized that I was surrendering. And to me, surrendering is different than giving up. So I was surrendering to, all the past trauma, all the things that I've been struggling with. I was surrendering to allow myself to get the help that I needed, and to allow myself to be helped, and to allow myself really to help myself. So to hold on to life, I had to let go and to move through a lot of the things that were keeping me stuck.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So let me ask you a question. So when you was in the psychiatric hospital, how did they help you? Because from my experience, they didn't really help me. They just gave me medication and watched me for the hold they had me on. Like they didn't really discuss anything to me or go into depth or anything or speak to me. Did they talk to you or anything?
Yeah, so my first couple days in the psych ward was pretty similar to yours. It was basically just, keeping me safe from myself, readjusting my medications, things like that. There wasn't a lot of therapy. I remember meeting with a psychiatrist once, and that was in a ward that was called the Psychiatric Emergency Services. So then after, I think, 3 days there, I was transferred onto another ward, which was called the IPU, Inpatient Psychiatric Unit. And there is really where I got a lot of the talk therapy and the support that was offered. We had meetings once a day with a psychiatrist who was on duty. And then the psych nurses were basically like the counselors of the ward. So basically what they would do is they'd have these little impromptu therapy sessions with you throughout the day. So, outpatient help, like you're often looking at, once a week you spend an hour with a counselor or whatever it is. And so this would be like, 10, 15, even 20 little like 5-10 minute therapy sessions interspersed throughout the day. So it wasn't like overwhelming or anything. And it was just like this constant reminder, I guess, to form healthier habits and just to talk through little things as they came up instead of like bottling everything up and keeping it for this weekly session with a counselor or even like the daily session with a psychiatrist.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, we did have that. I forgot about that, like the
Yeah.
outpatient thing. We did have that, and I, it helped a little bit. Like she was trying to help us, but I don't know if I really got the help. So I was just like, this is not really for me, you know?
Yeah. Was it group therapy? Because we had group therapy in the hospital as well, and I didn't find that very helpful at all.
Yeah, it really wasn't because I didn't feel like I related to the other ladies. Like they were more there because someone passed away in their lives and some of them passed away due to suicide, which is what I was trying to do. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't really want to hear this. Like I didn't
Yeah.
I felt bad for them, but I was like, I don't feel like I relate to them because I want to kill myself, but I don't want to kill myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
I think group therapy in a hospital setting is kind of problematic because, as you say, they're trying to deal with people with so many varying needs in one sort of situation, and it doesn't really, people don't necessarily fit together like that.
yes, exactly. So, can you tell our listeners about your new EP, Where the Ocean Meets the Sand?
Yeah, so Where the Ocean Meets the Sand came out actually a couple of years ago. There's a new EP that I'm working on right now. We're just finishing it up, and it should be out in the next couple months. But Where the Ocean Meets the Sand, I released after I got back from living in South America. I was living in Peru for a year, and I came back and I basically wrote down a lot of the experiences that I'd lived in Peru, as well as kind of my hesitation of coming back because I didn't really want to come back. I wanted to stay there, and it was like this weird reverse culture shock of coming back. And so I really wrote about a lot about that in the songs in the EP, as well as my struggles even back then with my mental health.
Wow, that's amazing. So, do you ever go and do shows or speak to people like before you perform? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I've done a lot of that kind of thing. I mean, it's definitely been really put on hold because of COVID. Nobody's really been performing at all. Things are, I don't know where you are. It tends to like vary depending on the state and the province or whatever, or even the country, how much stuff is even open. So here where I am, things are like just finally starting out to open up again. So yeah, I'm really hoping to get back out there and start performing like I was before COVID.
Yeah, definitely. Like you can start like live streaming, like what I do on my podcast. You can like
Yeah.
live stream on YouTube your music and stuff. That'll definitely get it out there a lot.
Yeah, for
But
sure. Yeah, I've done some of those like live stream concerts on, I think it's Stage It, it's called. And those are always fun to get to like chat with people. It's kind of weird though, because like you finish a song and then there's this just like dead silence. And it's like, okay, now what?
like I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little awkward, but I guess you get used to it.
Yeah, definitely. So, can you tell our listeners what you have planned for the upcoming year? Like, do you have a new book coming out, or do you have new music that you're, besides your new EP, do you have other music that's coming out?
So the new book like just came out in the last couple of months, so I'm still working pretty hard at promoting that, going around doing lots of interviews and talks and things like that. So I'm hoping to continue with that in the coming year. And as well with the new EP, it's kind of almost like a soundtrack that goes kind of hand in hand with the book. So my plan with that is to be performing live and to also be giving talks like at the same time. So these talks about mental health and disability and you know the importance of breaking the stigma around both those topics, and interspersed with those talks, I want to share some of my music as well. So it's kind of like this multi-sensory, I guess, experience for people who are more drawn to the music and then people who are more interested in just hearing a talk. So trying to bridge that gap and make contact or get the most people possible to relate to it.
Nice. That's amazing. So I did read on your website that you're blind. Like, are you partially blind, or can you see a little bit, or like?
Pretty much fully blind. I think what people don't realize often is that it's not like all or nothing. It kind of exists on like this continuum. So basically the doctors classify my vision as like light perception only. So
Mhm.
basically I can see like when a room is bright or dark. I actually see better in low light, which is weird because most people think that the brighter the light, the better, but it actually isn't for me. I might be able to see, you know, like the outline of a person standing close to me, but I would never be able to like identify them by their facial features or anything like that. Or I may be able to see like stark contrast, like between black and white, like I don't know, checkered floor tiles or something like that.
Gotcha. Wow. Because with my eyesight, I cannot see anything without my glasses unless you're like really up close. Like you
Yeah.
gotta be really close to my face. Like without my glasses, I cannot see
Yeah, so
anything.
you gotta put them on first thing and take them off last thing
Yeah.
before you go to bed.
Yep. And my grandma. One day I broke my glasses and she was like, "Oh, you gotta go to school." I was like, "I can't go to school. My
Oh
eyesight.
no.
I'm not gonna see anything."
Yeah, you won't be able to read.
At all. Like I wouldn't be able to walk. Like I mean, I can walk without my glasses, but I will be running into stuff. But I want to thank you so much, Heather, for coming on my podcast today and chatting with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, I want to thank you so much for listening to my podcast interview with Heather Hutchison. So I have linked her website to my website. It is tinkering below this interview. It's on my website, sheburbs.wixsite.com/sheburbs/podcast. So if you would like to check out her book or her EP, her music, then you can go on there and check it out. I listened to her song. It's a really good song. So I hope you all check it out and, tell her your thoughts. Be positive, please. But thank you all so much for listening to my interview. And thank you all so much for supporting my podcast. I hope you have a great day and make great choices. Bye.